good to go.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for all of you not on Pacific Coast time, and welcome to another CPC Strategy hosted webinar. If this is your first time with CPC Strategy, welcome, and we hope to see more of you in future events. If this is not your first time with us, welcome back. We're happy to have you here again for another webinar. So it's August, and the end of summer is fastly approaching. And I think all of us here today realize that now is the time to start focusing on Q4, how much inventory to plan for, securing shipping and warehouse logistics, and setting advertising campaigns for the holidays. Which brings us to today's topic, reaching maximum profit this Amazon Q4 with operations and advertising efficiency. So in this webinar, our speakers will be walking us through vendor operations and logistics prep for the coming quarter, as well as advising us on the best advertising practices along the way. So for logistics, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Annalicia, and I'm CPC Strategy's webinar coordinator. I'll be moderating today's webinar, as well as handling all your questions on the back end. So before we begin today's presentation, just want to walk through a few logistics. Number one, ask questions, session recording and slides. Will they be sent out? The answer is yes. We'll be sending out all slides and recording to all registrants within 48 hours. Next question. So as I mentioned, I'll be handling all the questions on the back end. So if you look at your GoToWebinar panel, there should be a tab that says questions. You expand that and you send all the questions that you have for our speakers today. And I'll be adding them to a queue and hope to answer them at the end portion when we have our Q&A, or if I see that a lot of questions are coming in and we need a clarification, I'll make sure to ask Jen and Eric along the way. So besides that, on the panel, there's another tab for handouts. This is where we provide additional resources relevant to the topic that you are all tuned in for today. Just more blog posts and guidebooks, maybe expanding on Amazon vendor operations or on creative services as it comes to advertising. So feel free to download those. And the last logistical thing I'll point out is the poll question. So we'll have a couple. We'll have one in a few slides, kind of to get an idea of who started their holiday strategies already, so our speakers can tailor their content accordingly. And then we have one towards the end in relation to an expert evaluation with CPC Strategy. So before we really get in, I'd like to introduce CPC Strategy and explain our position in the e-commerce landscape. So we were founded in 2007, so we're over 10 years old. We have over 500 active retail clients, a quite diverse portfolio ranging from CPG to apparel and even some service clients as well. And we're a retail-focused paid search management company focusing in the realms of retail search, paid search and shopping, Amazon sales acceleration, creative services, content optimization, vendor operations, as well as social. We work with Facebook and performance marketing. So now I would like to present to you our speakers today. We have Eric House, who's our Amazon Vendor Operations Manager, and Jennifer Acosta, who's our Amazon Marketplace Channel Analyst. So Eric, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience, and then you can pass it on to Jen to do the same.
Sure. Hi, thank you, Annalicia. Hi, I'm Eric Koss. I am the Vendor Operations Manager at Amazon for CPC Strategy. My background is I have worked for Amazon and also worked for a large distributor that sold into Amazon, so I bring a unique set to the situation, and so I can see both sides of the equation. Jen, over to you.
Great, thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Acosta. I'm a Senior Marketplace Channel Analyst here at CPC Strategy in our Amazon department. I come from a client services background in digital marketing, but working with Amazon has certainly been the most exciting part of my digital marketing career. So really looking forward to diving into some advertising strategies here with you today.
Great, thank you both. So now I will actually launch a poll question for you all. It's a fairly simple question, just to kind of gauge how you all have been preparing for Q4, if you have started. So Jen and Eric, I know that you can't see the poll question, so I'll read it out loud. Is it, have you started holiday planning for Q4? And the answers are yes and no. And so Jen and Eric, I'm curious, with your clients, have you already started strategizing with your holiday specific campaigns? Have you gone through a checklist?
This is
well, and
the conversation has certainly started. definitely a few things to get in order that I know Eric will be touching on here, but even though we're just in Q3, it's definitely become a topic of conversation already.
Yeah, and on the operations side, yes, we've started that already. Those conversations started right around the 1st of July and in through Prime Day. You know, and you'll hear about it. A lot of vendors in both advertising and operations got a lot of insight about how to handle high volume and high transactions during the Prime Day window. So it'll go from there.
Okay,
so
great.
Yes, we have started it with we have been strategizing on that front.
Okay, so the majority of our audience as well, 60% says yes, that they've started holiday planning. Hopefully we have some extra tips to add for you guys along the way. And then 40% is no. So hopefully we can get you all inspired too with our Q4 tips. So 60-40 to yes. So I will hide that poll question and I will kick it off to Eric now, who will commence today's presentation. Oh, the quick agenda, just to let you all know what we're going over today. You know, Q4 checklist, which Eric will start with now, all the major factors to kind of tighten in these coming days, as well as guidelines for new product launches on the advertising and operational front, catalog and inventory management, efficient PO processing and demand forecasting, as well as tips on bundle creation, shipping and warehouse adjustments to avoid chargebacks. I know we all hate those. And then Q4 specific advertising strategies to help move inventory. So now I will pass it on to Eric, who will begin with the content portion.
Thank you, Annalisa. Yeah, we want to start off with really recapping what's the reason that we said that this topic was going to be more important than ever going into Q4. And that is, as with most vendors, we're experiencing the move to self-service through Vendor Central. What that means is that you're entering probably the first holiday season where you have not had a vendor manager to communicate with and to potentially solve issues and move forward on. And we feel it's very important that we highlight the operational components that from Vendor Central and operating with Amazon going into holiday that are now really on your plate. Amazon will be there at some extent through cases, et cetera, but as we all know, that can be problematic at times. So the move to self-service has really accelerated the need for advanced preparation for all events, but particularly for the holiday season and moving forward. The key areas of focus that we want to focus on to increase efficiencies are catalog management, purchase order management, inventory availability, warehouse performance and timely delivery of product, and eliminating chargebacks by understanding the root cause. During the fourth quarter, on average in history, Amazon has had a 40% increase in traffic. Now that's probably on the low side, but that's kind of the number they share. And you need to be positioned both operationally and in an advertising way to make sure that you are maximizing that potential that is there to capture customers, make sure that your inventories are in place, and then also keep those customers as part of your portfolio as you enter Q1 after holiday. This is also doing it right in holiday has the halo effect of working in Q1 as well. So let's talk about catalog management. There are 3 key points that we feel you need to focus in on to make sure that your catalog and all of your data is correct. We would strongly suggest that you review your current catalog to make sure that the availability is correct, that Amazon knows they can write you a purchase order, and make the necessary adjustments in the edit products section in Vendor Central, or if that's not available to you, some categories do not allow that. Get a case open to make sure that you can get your availabilities changed. Is all your content and images up to date? Are there new images you can put out there? Are there videos? We don't call out videos here, but are there videos you can add? Customers love videos. They like to see product. They like to see it in action. They like to understand how it works. And if you can get those uploaded into your system and make those work into the Amazon system and make them part of your detail page presentation, you have a higher chance of conversion in that area. And the final thing, which we'll talk about more in detail as we go through this, as well as there is an addendum that is on the slide presentation which you will receive about how to create bundles, is take a look at creating bundled packages of product. What that means is that you can do two types of bundles. You can do a simple bundle, which is you have an item, you have one item, and you want to sell 2 or 3 of them at a time versus one. That's a similar, that's the same ASIN bundle. Or you can mix product as long as you source it yourself correctly, and you can take it and do it, and you can take it, put it into one bundle, and make sure that it works effectively to drive your average selling price up. Example of that would be a computer monitor, keyboard, and mouse packaged together to sell with the computer that they buy and work from that perspective. We'll talk more about bundles, and in the addendum we give complete details of what are the steps from A to Z about how to set up the bundle so that it's effective. Launching new products. There is no doubt that an enormous amount of vendors take a great amount of emphasis in putting new products out in front of the most eyeballs they can. As we talked about, traffic will increase 40% up a minimum of 40% on the Amazon platform during the holiday season. You want to make sure your new products are there, ready to go, and demand can be created for them. We're suggesting, and we have to all of our existing clients and to anyone out there, that you take the time now to get your new item setups for holiday in the pipeline for Amazon. Ideally, you'd like them complete by the beginning of September, but obviously if it goes in the weeks 1 or 2 of September, that'll be okay. One of the reasons, the major reason that we recommend that is that the Amazon pipeline, everybody's doing it. Everybody's trying to get items set up, and you want to make sure that you're in the queue to get everything scheduled accordingly and get it done. The next thing is that when you're doing your new item setups, take the extra time at the beginning to make sure all of your data is available that is needed to have the setup of the ASIN done the first time, that there's not communication back that I'm missing dimensions or I'm missing weights, or if the item requires hazmat or MSDS sheets, that you've got them ready to submit so that the product can be made available as quickly as possible. The other option that's also out in front of you is the free basic A+ content. Once an ASIN is set up and you believe this is going to be a high velocity ASIN for you, take advantage of the free basic A+ content. When you look at the front page of Vendor Central, you will see that they'll make some recommendations, but you can do those recommended products, but you can also pick other ones they haven't recommended. Excuse me, and the chances are they won't recommend new product because there hasn't been enough velocity. But if you believe that ASIN will be a good ASIN and you want to highlight more information about it, take advantage of the free basic A+ content. And finally, when launching new products, you want to make sure that if you are doing direct fulfillment as well as warehouse orders, that you are making the items available both in direct fulfillment and also in the warehouse orders. Obviously, those are two distinctly different setups. It's a setup of the same ASINs, but you want to make that available. The reason is, and we'll talk further about this later in the presentation, but the primary reason is that if it's a new product, Amazon's purchase order system won't buy enough up front. And number two, they will probably run out of inventory if they're having a great season, but if you've done direct fulfillment set up correctly, the order will flip for you to ship the order on direct fulfillment. Direct fulfillment, for those who don't know the terminology, that is about a year ago, Amazon changed dropship to direct fulfillment from a terminology perspective. And now Jen's going to take you through some advertising tips for new product launches.
Great, thank you, Eric. So there are a few things to consider with your advertising when it comes to gaining visibility for a new product. So you want to ask yourself, how much are you willing to invest in a new product from an ad perspective? Are you willing to take a high A cost and low conversion in the short term to really begin ramping for a product in Q4? And really, the sooner that you can make these decisions, the better. To Eric's point, you are working to gain sales velocity, but you also have to consider that your new product may not have reviews. It's going to be a lot harder to convert while that product is still in the infant stages. You are also going to want to launch new campaigns as soon as possible for a brand new product. We continue to see the importance of historical data in campaigns based on how Amazon's treating campaign relevancy and conversion history. So the sooner that you can start building this up, the better. So you want to build up relevancy and conversion for a new product ahead of time. That way you can more effectively use your ad spend during Q4. Launching new products during big holidays like Black Friday and Cyber Monday can be a really great opportunity to gain exposure for a new product, but you just may not see that same level of conversion that you would see for a product that already has reviews, has that sales and that history. So overall, prepared for a lower conversion and really focus more on gaining that visibility. Another thing to ask yourself is, did you launch a new product during Prime? If so, what were the results from any of those ad campaigns? This is actually something we're going to be getting into further in a webinar that I believe is towards the end of September. So more on that, but for now, just take into consideration any copy that may have worked for you that you can potentially use for the week of Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Also consider creating evergreen campaigns that you'd actually be able to leverage for months to come. Think about all the data that you're going to be collecting during Q4 with this new product. That's certainly something you're going to want to leverage throughout the rest of the year.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. Hey, Jen, just one quick thing for the people that are new to Amazon, and you want to give them a brief definition of what ACoS and CVR are?
Yeah, so your ACoS is the advertising cost of sale. So how much is it costing you to generate a sale? Now, everyone has a different ACoS percentage that they're going to go by. It's really going to be dependent on your category. So just consider this relative to what you're seeing on average for your campaigns throughout the year as to what would maybe be a high ACoS. The conversion rate is the amount of orders that you're getting over clicks. So are you getting conversions? Are you actually generating orders when someone is engaging with your ad?
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jen. Appreciate it. Okay, so the next part of the presentation talks about bundle creation, which we think is a great idea to drive a higher average selling price and also profitability for you. There are advantages and disadvantages of bundles. We describe them as being this group of product that you can sell, whether it's the same ASIN or different products bundled together. However, the advantages of doing bundles are you'll have an average selling price and profit per transaction that sells. You're going to sell more product at a higher price, which means inherently you're going to make more money. Because it's a bundle that you have uniquely created, you control both the cost and the retail, which can enhance your profitability. The chance that Amazon will play with the price, change the price on that because there's no other offer on it and there's no competing space out there for this is very small. What can occur is if you have bundles that are industry-wide that are part of your product mix, then you could have some price problems. But if it's a unique bundle to Amazon, you will enhance your profitability because you're controlling pretty much where the price will be and where the cost will be. Since the vendor, and that goes to the same thing, there'll be no third-party marketplace. The other thing about bundles is that customers at holiday really take a look at where can I get my best value for the dollar that I'm spending and for that gift that I'm trying to give. If the bundle starts to perform and if you're getting a good response to it, good sales velocity, the demand forecast is beginning to show that, you can submit those for lightning deals or best deals. What that will do is bring even more visibility to the bundle and allow for, once again, more profitability and more average sale. Now, bundles are not the panacea. There are topics and things that you need to concern yourself with as you just decide whether you're going to do bundles or not. The first thing that you need to take into account is that if the bundle does not perform and you decide, well, look, I've got these 3 ASINs out there and I want to have the Amazon Fulfillment Center after Christmas and holiday, unbundle that, they're going to charge you for that. You're going to eat up any profitability you did have. As Jen mentioned, we're trying to drive awareness of this product and of anything we do at Holiday. But for the most part, while the items are individually well known, the bundle is not. And if you're able to put it on a variation, that would be great. But if you're not able to put it on a variation, there's going to be a need for a marketing campaign to quickly ramp up sales. And the other part about bundles is there is an internal labor cost at your warehouses to get bundles ready. You send the bundles in ready to go for Amazon. It comes in a box. You put a label on it. Don't open this box. It's a set. Don't do anything with it. But you have additional labor costs to get that ASIN ready. And while on paper, your profitability of that ASIN will look good because the cost was low and the selling price is high, be sure that someone, and I'm sure your finance people will do this, will take into account, yeah, but it cost me an additional $5 to make every one of those bundles, so we really didn't make that much money. So those are the cost factors from a bundles option that you need to be sure you're aware of in creating bundles. And once again, there's a complete addendum at the end of the presentation, which you will receive with the slides, that will go through the whole procedure for setting up bundles. And now Jen will go through some advertising of bundles and how to for your bundle creations.
Great, thanks, Eric. So there are a few different options. The first one here, you see try to vary a product. So that's really the operative word. You won't always be able to product under existing ASINs. It does need to make sense based on what the bundle is and the ASINs that you're bundling this under. So something that might be more simple is if you have a singular ASIN and you want to make a 2 or 3 pack of it, it'd be much easier to bundle than if you were pulling together multiple products. It's something that you should certainly try. If you're not able to do so, still want to consider launching campaigns sooner rather than later to start building up that traction. But if you are able to vary, then I would recommend layering in that ASIN in a campaign that you already have running for sponsored products, and then launching a new headline search ad if you're able to run at least 3 or more products with that. And then of course, PDAs are just going to be showing that singular ASIN. Something else that you should definitely utilize is your storefront. So whether you're adding the bundle to your homepage, putting it right front and center, you really want to make sure that you can give it the best exposure. So not only the homepage, but let's say you do have a dedicated subpage to the holidays or maybe some other kind of deals page. You want to make sure that you can leverage your storefront as much as possible. We've seen this more and more become important. Amazon's given us a lot more data in order to analyze the performance of our storefront. So we do want to utilize this the best we can, especially if we're able to leverage headline search ads. Again, you do need to have at least 3 products on that page in order to direct your headline search ad to the storefront. But there's certainly different ways that you can consider this. The other thing that I did lightly mention, launching holiday specific campaigns, that's through your sponsored product or PDA. You do want to launch this as soon as possible. But something to consider, a pro tip that we've listed, if you are no longer in stock for last year's version of that bundle or a holiday specific item, you just want to make sure that you're not driving traffic to that out of stock or old ASIN. Make sure that you do have the new version of this item widget on that old detail page so that you can redirect to your new bundle.
Yeah, I want to add just a couple of things there on the variation part. If it is the same ASIN, just multiple units, you absolutely want to variate that because you won't lose the reviews, and you can variate that now on the Amazon platform. And if you have ASINs that you want to add the new item widget to, that is done through a case in Vendor Central. Is how you add those. Okay. Anything else, Jen?
No, that's it. Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Purchase order forecasting and inventory management. Obviously, you want to be sure you got your purchase orders, you can handle them, you're moving them out, and you have the inventory that's available in order to make sure that Amazon's getting everything they need. What you want to do now is you want to take the time now to make sure that the team that is managing the receipt of your purchase orders understands all procedures, understands all deadlines of processing purchase orders, and understands what the ramifications are if they're not. Team members understanding that if they don't do X, it'll cost us Y is a great way for them to understand that we need to follow the procedures that are out there. So you should always review your purchase orders in a timely and efficient manner. For most vendors, the purchase orders will come in on Sunday night or early Monday morning for the first run. And if there's high velocity on any ASIN even after that happens, which can be very common during holiday, they'll write reactive POs sometime midweek, Wednesday or Thursday, to write more product. So there could be, you may have only been receiving during the summer one group of purchase orders a week. Let your team know they may be getting two now because of the high velocity of product and Amazon is selling it. There's also the issue about Amazon knowing what the status of an ASIN is. Amazon does not like to be in the dark. They want to know that, okay, we placed an order for 100 units of this. You're telling us you can't ship it. Are you going to back order? Is it permanently canceled? And all that goes with it. There are PO acknowledgement and status codes in the addendum that Amazon uses in order that are supposed to be done with purchase orders. If you're on EDI, that is normally done in a smooth manner. But if you are doing your purchase orders on a manual basis in Vendor Central, it's important that you understand what those codes are and that you're using the right code. Because if you use the wrong code, it could bring a chargeback into play. Understand the back order process. Back orders are a necessary evil to the business. You're never going to have everything, but you may see inventory is going to be available 4 or 5 days from now. Understand that process and understand that when a back order is generated, that's the new delivery date for that, and you have to manage to that, and you just can't assume that it's being done correctly. Because if you don't, there will be chargebacks for one, missing the new back order delivery date, and also for back ordering too much product. Monitor shipping information to update delivery dates to Amazon. This comes to primarily collect vendors who haven't had their product picked up. We're going to talk about this a little bit further later, as well as understanding that you are responsible, even though Amazon's picking up your freight, for understanding and knowing it was picked up, communicating the information to them that the shipment's ready to be picked up, and making sure the product is moving to Amazon. And then confirm if you're EDI that everything is transmitting nightly as it needs to. Inventory management. Review the forecast and inventory planning report. For those of you who are unable to attend, about 3 weeks ago, we had a complete seminar on the new forecast and inventory planning report. You can go to our website and see all past and future websites. And if you need some, you can get the recording and you can understand the slides. You can look at that and you can see what that forecast means. It's a new probability forecast. Understanding that and understanding how to use that, and we'll talk about a couple of ways to use that later, is an important part of the process of having inventory available. Use direct fulfillment backup if applicable to protect sales. If Amazon runs out of inventory and you have a correct direct fulfillment order ASIN set up in your system, Amazon will automatically flip that order to you to ship. They're gonna try. They're in the customer experience business, and they're gonna find the way to get that product for that customer during holiday. And so if you keep your inventory up to date and feed that part of it, and further down you'll see we're recommending you update your inventories a minimum of every 3 days. And in reality, it should be every day your direct fulfillment inventory, particularly from November 1 to December 19, which is the peak of the window. Keep Amazon up to date on availability issues. Avoid cold prickly. Cold prickly, I'm sure most of you, if you've gotten a cold prickly email, you know what it is, but most of you probably haven't, thankfully. Cold prickly is inside terminology at Amazon where they have promised a customer, based on the information that you gave them, that this item is going to get delivered to their fulfillment center and Amazon's going to be able to ship it out to that customer for holiday. And when they find out they may not be able to do that and miss that date, it's called a cold prickly. You don't want any of those. Those are not fun. They will call you 4 times a day to figure out where the product is. they won't do it by email. They'll do it by phone. They'll try to figure it out. And if you get too many of them, it could be a long-term issue about not fulfilling customer demand and need. And the final point is make sure that if using the selling hybrid approach, which is having a seller account and a vendor central account, make sure that you have inventory available in both channels to protect sales. Okay, now the inventory forecast report. It is under a new format of probability, and it has 3 different levels of where Amazon thinks they may need inventory. It is now in your hands to determine what inventory you want to carry. And we're recommending you take a look at your catalog and divide it into top tier, mid tier, and other. And the 90% level that Amazon is the most, and you may want to stock that inventory for your bestseller top tiers, your mid tiers be at your middle level, and your other be at your 70 level, so that you know for sure your critical holiday ASINs are going to have inventory available. Amazon does not do a good job about giving you data that tracks your purchase orders that you're getting versus what the demand forecast is. That's another component of learning how to use the forecast. Understanding that they may be telling you they have demand, but if they can source it from somewhere else, they will. If the price is different, if your product can go through a distributor as well as direct. So read the thing about the tracking the demand and purchase orders on a weekly basis to verify that Amazon's purchasing inventory. And regardless of what the demand forecast says, Amazon's expecting 100% confirmation of on-time shipping and accuracy. They have never wavered on that, and they never will, and it can have an impact on both future orders and also chargebacks. The direct fulfillment dropship component of it, we've talked about that before. You act as a backup to the Amazon inventory that they have in their warehouse. The demand forecast, no matter how accurate you think it is, if Amazon is having a really good season or has a really high velocity ASIN, they will not be demanding enough inventory. And you can read the report and it can say you need 100, but Amazon may then place an order for 500 because they're seeing the demand there. So having the backup direct fulfillment in the back will help you do that if you have that inventory in your warehouse, and using the inventory forecast will help you determine that number. Using direct fulfillment also allows you to expose your entire catalog to Amazon. Some ASINs Amazon may decide they don't want to carry. If don't have a seller account, you can't put it in there. You can post it as direct fulfillment only and get orders on that. On new products, it helps you build demand at a quicker pace because the product is immediately available on dropship the minute you feed the inventory. So if you feed the inventory to Amazon and say, I have 100 units of this, the page will go live, and then that will begin to make the product demand pick up quicker as customers go to the pages and increase glance views and impressions on the page. And finally, it protects sales when Amazon runs out of inventory. Now, Jen's going to go through some advertising tips on how to move inventory as you look at that and look at your inventories and target things you want to sell out of during the holiday season.
Great, thanks, Eric. So part of CPC Strategy's best practices really are to leverage Prime Day data. So this information can be used to foreshadow what may happen during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Although historically Prime Day does technically surpass these holidays in performance, it's still a good indicator of what's to be expected. So I would certainly analyze performance by campaign or product and really look for the wins from those campaigns and also look for those learning opportunities. If you have old inventory that you're looking to move, lightning deals can be a great option. You would definitely want to place the largest discount that you can afford on that item. And since this is the shortest deal length, it's really that moment where you can push old inventory, set that high discount. If that's something that you had done during Prime Day and it proved concept, absolutely do that again. If you're looking for a longer term strategy or a long play, coupons can also be an effective long-term strategy. So let's say you're wanting to run that for the whole week of Black Friday or Cyber Monday, or even for a whole month. Best Deals is also another great option for this, since you can run it at a longer period of time. Now, if you're looking to launch a new product, This is a great opportunity to use it as an awareness play during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So again, thinking about how new is this product, if it is brand new and there are little to no reviews on that product, there is not any sales velocity that's really been built up. Of course, it will be harder to convert during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So just look at it as a great opportunity to gain visibility on a product that could help carry you through the rest of December and even into January. We do see that halo effect from Q4 in Q1. So that's something that you don't want to forget about. So I would opt for long play discounts like coupons, so you can run it for a longer period of time if you're using this as an opportunity to really launch a brand new product that will be run through the rest of next year as well.
Okay. One of the things I want to add something about lightning deals. One of the things is on the Business Advisor on the homepage of Vendor Central, they do make suggestions for lightning deals if they see something that's out there. You don't have to accept those if they're not in your profitability range. But the one thing that's in there, though, is it almost implies that those are the only lightning deals you can run, and that is not accurate. There is a link there for you to create your own deal and submit product. You don't have to stick to just the recommendations that Amazon gives you.
Great call out, Eric.
Thanks, Jen. Okay. Warehouse and shipping operations. This is the part that is the nuts and bolts of getting the product to Amazon. It is important that you do your warehouse performance and timely delivery happens during holiday. Will you be penalized? Probably not from a chargeback perspective, but you'll be penalized for loss of sales because the product's not available. The first thing that we recommend is that you review staffing for increased order size and frequency. Amazon has, for the most part, stopped writing future bulk orders for holiday, and they're expecting you to read the demand forecast and understand what's supposed to be there, and they're going to write your purchase orders every week. So you're going to have you're not going to have bulk orders on the front side, and you're going to have larger orders in season if an ASIN accelerates. There are ASINs that require prepping the product to sell, taping the boxes, bubble wrap, etc. On high velocity ASINs in October, if you're reading the forecast and you're comfortable with it, prep that product ahead of time so that getting the order ready is important. Getting the order packed and out the door can happen on time when the purchase orders come in. If there are hazmat ASINs or ASINs that require MSDS forms, which are chemical forms that are included in there, make sure that that's in the system already. Amazon's made it significantly easier to submit MSDS forms. They now have a complete link within the caseload under Manage Your Catalog for specifically submitting that. It will pull your offer down if Amazon believes you need an MSDS sheet and they need to know what chemicals or what makes up that product. They will pull it down. You need to know that you have responsibilities regardless of whether you are collect vendors, which is we pay, and we pay being Amazon's terminology, or prepaid vendors being they pay. If you're a collect vendor, your shipments more than likely, particularly if you have high volume or if you're not in a location where there are multiple pickups by Amazon, may be delayed. Amazon will be distributing procedures, phone numbers, and how to use their system to talk to them about a pickup didn't happen that you thought was going to happen and Amazon thought they were going to happen. And that is part of making you taking responsibility to make sure your inventory is in their fulfillment center as quickly as possible. If you're a collect vendor, manage with your transportation so it's picked up on time and scheduling is done for the fulfillment center. This basically ties to, in both cases, you want to, if you can, in the best possible way in both cases, almost see the product get to the fulfillment center door, and that's on a computer. That's your transportation company, if you're prepaid, or collect, you see that Amazon's getting it. One tool that several clients have done with their warehouses, and they did it for Prime Day, and they'll expand on this day, is set up metrics for performance. If somebody is packing only 100 units a day, but we know it's got to be 150, work with them and figure out how they can do that and how they can make their functionality better. And then the final thing is inform Amazon of warehouse closure dates. while they'll tell you that they know that New Year's Day and Christmas Day you're not open, tell them anyway. And also any other days you may be. If you've chosen not to be open the day after Thanksgiving from the warehouse, they need to know that. That won't impact your business, but it just is what they'll put when they issue purchase orders for delivery and everything that goes with that particular part of it. And then the final part is avoiding chargebacks. The thing we want to talk about avoiding chargebacks is that if you get chargebacks in holiday, they can multiply astronomically for you because of the increased traffic and increased volume. If you were shipping 100 units in July and you're shipping 750 and you make a mistake on that in November, those chargebacks can become extremely costly. And the four most frequent places where chargebacks occur are PO on-time accuracy, which is the percentage of time that you don't get an order out on time or the data is not entered correctly. You rejecting too much POs means that you haven't communicated your availability status to Amazon. And by not communicating that, they think you have the inventory. So when you're getting it, you're saying you're rejecting the purchase order because you don't have the inventory. If you go over the 20% for a 13-week average, they create that. They create a chargeback. Prep issues, which is preparing your product for immediate shipping. We talked about getting it ready and you want to have that ready. And ASN accuracy, which is making sure that all the data that's with a shipment is correct on the advanced ship notices that are sent to Amazon. The bottom part of this page shows you a screenshot of what you see every time you log into Vendor Central. And finally, advertising takeaways from Jen for holiday.
Great. So I was telling Eric, I really wanted to have a memorable acronym for the ad takeaways. So I couldn't really come up with anything great. We've got CADB, which is probably not very memorable, so had to scratch that. But a few takeaways here. So first, content, detail page health. This is something that Eric touched on in the very beginning. You want to make sure that the visibility you're creating for a product is really worthwhile. Last thing that you want is to send people to a product detail page through your advertisement and then lose conversions because you have a poor detail page or you don't have that A+ content, which helps to educate the customer on your product. The next thing, ad coverage, having this on your key products and holiday items. So consider running those holiday specific campaigns, but also use this time to launch or really leverage those evergreen campaigns, whether it's headline search ads, PDAs, and even sponsored products for that matter. Data leverage, so let's learn from the past, use Prime Day performance as an indicator of potential performance or reference how you should set up your campaign. So we talked about understanding the wins and those learning opportunities. Something we didn't talk about but is still important is your budget. Have you planned for a separate Q4 budget? If your campaigns are performing well, but they're hitting their limit, you have to ask yourself, can you afford to invest more in these campaigns? What you don't want to do is leave sales on the table because you put a rainy day fund on the side to make sure that you had additional budget that you could utilize, because you never know if things, let's say Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you spent your ad dollars and things were great, but for whatever things really kicked up in December, you want to make sure you have the available budget in order to leverage that performance. And then lastly, this goes without saying, but your inventory, you want to make sure you have inventory for your holiday items, for your heroes, and also don't forget about Q1. I talked about this before, but many do experience a halo effect from Q4 during January, and not everyone's always prepared for that. So don't completely forget about what might happen in Q1 based on the traction that you built in Q4.
Thanks, Jen. And with that note, I'll turn it back over to Annalisa.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for going over all this valuable content in record timing. I am very impressed. So now in this presentation, you all know Eric and Jen provided tons of notes for Q4 prep. And we realized that there are a lot of factors to consider, from inventory forecasting to advertising new products, and it can be overwhelming. So if you would like to go over what it would be like to work with experts on building stronger performing campaigns on Amazon, or more accurately accounting for inventory and fulfillment, let us know. I'm going to launch a poll now, and it's the second poll, and it's, asking you all if you would like to opt into an Amazon vendor strategy evaluation with CPC Strategy. I want to preface this and let you all know that I will not post these results to the audience like I did with the first poll. This is just for internal in case you do want to follow up with one of our experts. And I will keep this poll question up a little bit so you all have time to answer. But yeah, if you would like to schedule an Amazon vendor strategy evaluation with one of our experts in-house, whether you're focused on AMG campaigns, Amazon vendor operations and logistics, or another sort of Amazon factor that is not mentioned here, or if you don't want to be contacted at all, just answer there or not. Definitely your call, but I'll keep that up for a little bit. But now it's time for Q&A. I know that Eric and Jen have definitely clarified some questions along the way, but we now have some time to go over the Q&A that's come in. And if you haven't had a chance to send in your question, feel free to send it over now, and I'll be sure to add it to the queue. So I guess first question has to do with budgeting and with launching a new product. And I know it's tricky. We all have different budgets and when it comes to advertising. But we have this one question from, I think, let me find it here. Oh, wow, can't. So what is the proper amount of ad spend that you would allocate for a new product launch? If there's no sales history at all, I guess this is a brand new ASIN, no older ASIN similar. This question's coming from Tina. Is there any way, I guess giving a hard number is more difficult, Jen, but any sort of arena or ballpark or data you can use to kind of figure out what your ad spend should be for a new product launch?
Definitely going to vary based on catalog size. Have you launched new products in the past? There's definitely many ways that we can come to a number for that. If it is something that's during Q4, you're launching a brand new product, first of all, I would in general have a additional budget already set up for Q4. If you are a holiday specific item, if you're selling or something that does really well in Q4, want to have a higher budget in that case. If it's more of an everyday item, so potentially a energy beverage or something that could be purchased throughout the year, you may not need to allocate as much of your budget to that. So in one, I would consider how much does this make out of your top ASINs. So if you only have 5 products and now you're going to have 6, you're going to want to allocate a higher percentage of budget to launching this new product. And again, the things that you really do want to consider is what kind of costs are you willing to incur from that ACoS perspective. So it is hard to give a percentage specifically, but I would just consider your catalog in general and any takeaways that you can have from Prime Day, and also just considering how much money are you willing to spend and not make a conversion, because there always is that option where you may not actually get a conversion on your product. So worst case scenario, but I think that would be a good path to help you understand how much you're willing to invest.
Great, thanks, Jen. And then on the topic of new product launches, we had another question from Chris. So what kind of campaign do you usually run when it's a new product that might not be so searchable on Amazon? I guess ties back to Tina and, no sales history. I guess it's a brand new product. Would you try, Chris mentioned that he tried a coupon, but it hasn't performed as well as he thought it would, and he's not sure if AMS will work a little bit better. If you have any advice on that front.
Sure. So if it's one single ASIN, I would definitely leverage auto and manual campaigns for sponsor products. What we know with auto campaigns, these get the additional placement on another product detail page. So if you're on a detail page and you scroll down and it says sponsor products related to this item, those are coming from auto. So that will actually give you additional placement on products that relate to your item. So sponsor products would do auto and manual. And launching a product display ad, now you can, of course, target based off of product, but look at interest-based targeting as well. This is where Amazon decides which product detail pages you show up on. Typically, these give you more volume because it's more widespread. You're not selecting singular ASINs. So you have more of a chance to show on pages that relate to the category or the behavior of that product. The one downfall with that is you don't know which pages you're showing up on because you're not individually selecting ASINs. But launching sponsored product, auto manual, and then PDAs, interest-based targeting, and product-based if you can do your own research and find products that relate to yours.
Got it. Thank you, Jen. So now I have a few questions when it comes to catalogs for Eric. Jenna chimed in and had a question. Does Amazon actually follow the availability in the catalog, or are there other factors that come into this when they're placing their orders? Because Jenna's saying that she has many issues with Amazon having different availability than what's in their actual catalog, what's represented in their catalog. Are there any discrepancies there, Eric? Are there any other factors besides what a vendor has listed in their catalog that come into play to how Amazon?
Well,
yeah.
Sure. Well, there's one factor that enters into this, and this is something that Amazon hasn't done a really good job of communicating. If you edit product availability in Vendor Central, which is a tool, and you take an item and let's just say you take it from in stock to permanently not available, normally in logic you would think that changed the order status of that product. Well, actually it didn't. You need to submit a case and make the item obsolete. A lot of vendors get orders on obsolete product thinking that it's gotten obsolete by making it permanently unavailable in the Amazon system. Amazon's aware that that doesn't mesh together, but they haven't given a time frame about when they're going to do it. You're not alone in that Amazon has this issue where they issue purchase orders for items that they think you have, or they won't issue them for the ones that are in the demand forecast. If you're not getting orders on product that's in the demand forecast, there can be several factors. The two primary ones are the product is available from another supplier at a lower cost, particularly a distributor, or number two, the profitability of the ASIN has come into play, and Amazon is realizing that buying the product and selling it for the price they need to on a competitive nature would impact their profitability, so they stop ordering the product. But the demand forecast will still show it.
I see. So then Leanne had a similar question, which I think you just touched on, that sometimes she finds that there are other sellers that override their products from their catalog. So I guess that has to do with them offering it at a lower price.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lower price and profitability. It all depends on Amazon's profitability factors in not only the cost you sell it to them, it does factor in on average what the freight cost is for you to get it to them, how long it takes you to get it to them, which is, we cover that in the previous webinar. But it also takes into account what co-op funds you give them. They look at each offer, if it's out there, and they do there's a computerized mathematical calculation that says, I'm making more money at the end by selling it from the seller versus the vendor, or the vendor from the seller. So really it's a profitability issue. Cost is a big factor to it, but there's other things that enter into it as well. Got
it. And then I hope, Leanne and Jenna, that we answer your questions there. I have a question when it comes to hazmat ASINs. And I know, just as an FYI to everyone, in the addendum that Eric mentioned that we'll be going out when we send the slides, there are a few slides that are dedicated to hazmat. But this question is also from Jenna. Is there a way to check on your hazmats? Because many times Amazon has flagged a product of hers, and they're not usually notified. And you know, they're relatively simple products with no real special requirements. So is there a way to just check on your hazmats and see if your ASINs, I guess, are infringed, or any way to kind of stay up to date on that?
Amazon's not very good at telling you that they've taken an item down. Particularly during a holiday, it'll get worse rather than better, because they're just going to keep moving on and figure out what to do with it. There is not a clean way to identify that Amazon has taken down an ASIN, and it's because of hazmat reasons. Now the system says they're supposed to be sending you an email requesting MSDS and hazmat information. Doesn't always happen, and that's where the glitch is in the system. So my recommendation for that is that if you see an ASIN that's been taken down and you can't figure out why,
If they haven't notified you it was price and profitability and they haven't told you it's hazmat, you need to open up a case in Vendor Central under availability and ask the question. They know at the case center, they'll be able to see the flag that says there's a hazmat reason for this, and they may be able to tell you what's needed in order to resolve it.
Got it. Thank you. And then a relatively easy, I think, question. Do co-op and damage fees apply to direct fulfillment costs? And that's a question for you, Eric.
The answer is yes. Every item that you send, you're really acting as a direct fulfillment. Think of yourself not as you're selling the product, you're acting as another fulfillment center for Amazon. You theoretically, on paper, ship it to Amazon so they can take their fees and then go from there. So the answer is yes.
Okay, got it. And then this is a question relating to bundle. I'm sure you both might be able to answer this actually, but Patrick is asking, how can you variate old ASINs to new ASINs? I know that you mentioned that, Jen, when it in advertising tips for bundle creation, but I know you can't do a step-by-step right now. I'm sure that would take up all the rest of our time and then some, but broadly speaking, is it within Vendor Central? Is it quite a complicated process?
It would be within Vendor Central, and I guess the question of an old ASIN and new, is the old ASIN still active and being fulfilled? You really won't be able to leverage ASIN's reviews for a newer version because it's technically a newer version of that product, and that's where that widget comes into play to redirect. But Amazon won't put those together if they are a different product. So I guess the question is it an old ASIN that is very, close to similarity? I don't know, Eric, if you want to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think if it's a new version, if it's a multiple item of the same ASIN, absolutely variate it, and you can tell them that when you do the setup sheet. You tell them it's a variation of an existing ASIN. As for the single biggest thing you can do is that you have an old ASIN and you have inventory on it, it's going to be challenging to create a variation of that. The only way to drive traffic to that is to put the new item widget on it. So when somebody goes and looks at the 2017 holiday bundle that was created, they know that that's kind of last year's, but here's the one for 2018 and drives the traffic over there. It doesn't take the reviews, as Jen said, it doesn't do that. And normally Amazon will not allow you to variate that. So you'll have to create a new offer for that item.
Got it. Thank you, Eric and Jen, for that. And for that lightning speed round of Q&A. So unfortunately, we have run out of time. So that about wraps up today's webinar. A big thank you to our speakers. Thank you, Eric and Jen. Also, a big thank you to all of you in attendance today. And we understand that an hour of your time is extremely valuable, so we are very thankful that you chose to spend it here with us at CPC, and we hope that we provided tons of insight and inspiration for your Q4 planning. So thank you all. I know we didn't get to every question. Please feel free to email if you have a question that was left unanswered. But once again, this is Annalicia, and I'm signing off from CPC Strategy in San Diego.